Harrowing by Viktor E. Frankl. Have you ever wondered what keeps a human being going when everything is taken away? When you lose your home, your family, your dignity, your freedom, and even the basic guarantee of surviving until tomorrow? What is it that allows one person to maintain their humanity and keep fighting, while another loses all hope and simply fades away? Viktor Frankl, a prominent Austrian psychiatrist and neurologist, found himself forced to answer these ultimate questions, not in a quiet university lecture hall, but in the darkest place imaginable, the Nazi concentration camps of World War II. Through his grueling experiences in Auschwitz and Dachau, Frankl made a landmark discovery about human nature. He realized that the primary drive in human life is not the pursuit of pleasure or power, but the pursuit of meaning. If a person can find a purpose for their existence, they can endure almost any physical or emotional hardship. The trial of the concentration camps. To understand Frankl's psychological insights, we must first look at the incredible ordeal that forged them. When Frankl was sent to the camps, he was stripped of all his worldly possessions, including the handwritten manuscript of his life's work. His hair was shaved, his clothes were replaced with rags, and he was reduced to a number. In the camps, prisoners were subjected to brutal physical labor, freezing temperatures, starvation diets, and constant emotional terror. Death was a daily, unpredictable reality. Yet, amid this horrific environment, Frankl observed human behavior with the trained eye of a psychiatrist. He noticed that the prisoners who managed to survive were not necessarily the physically strongest or the healthiest. Instead, the survivors were often those who maintained a strong internal world and held on tightly to a reason to keep living. Whether it was the hope of reuniting with a loved one, a desire to finish a life's work, or a deep spiritual faith, having a clear purpose acted as an invisible shield against total despair. The 3 phases of mental reaction. Frankl observed that a prisoner's mental journey through the concentration camps typically unfolded in 3 distinct psychological phases: initial shock upon arrival, deep apathy while living in the camp, and psychological readjustment after liberation. The first phase was characterized by intense shock. Upon arriving at the camp by train, prisoners were immediately separated into 2 lines. A simple wave of a finger by a camp official sent most people directly to the gas chambers, while a small minority was selected for slave labor. During this initial stage, prisoners often held on to a psychological phenomenon known as the illusion of reprieve, believing against all odds that they might somehow be spared at the last minute. The second phase was defined by apathy and emotional numbness. After weeks and months of witnessing constant cruelty and suffering, prisoners developed a protective mental shield. They stopped feeling pity, horror, or disgust when seeing fellow prisoners beaten or killed. This emotional deadening was a necessary survival mechanism, allowing them to conserve their limited mental energy for basic daily survival. The third phase occurred after liberation. When freedom finally arrived, prisoners did not instantly feel overwhelmed with joy. Instead, many suffered from depersonalization, feeling as though their newfound freedom was an impossible dream. Relearning how to feel genuine happiness, trust others, and reintegrate into normal society required a long and delicate process of mental recovery. The last of human freedoms. Among all of Frankl's insights, perhaps the most famous and empowering is his concept of ultimate human freedom. In the camps, the guards controlled every aspect of a prisoner's external environment. They dictated when you woke up, what you ate, how hard you worked, and when you died. They could strip away your clothing, your family, your health, and your physical freedom. But Frankl realized there was one sacred boundary that no guard could ever breach: the inner space of your mind. Between every stimulus in life and your reaction to it, there is a gap. In that gap lies your absolute power to choose your response. Even in the most degrading and hopeless circumstances, a human being retains the freedom to choose their own attitude and posture toward their suffering. Frankl wrote about men who walked through the camp huts comforting others and giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offered undeniable proof that everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. The foundations of logotherapy. Drawing from his observations in the camps, Frankl developed a new school of psychotherapy known as logotherapy. Derived from the Greek word logos, which translates to meaning, logotherapy focuses on helping individuals discover purpose in their lives. Unlike traditional psychoanalysis, which often focuses on past trauma or subconscious desires, logotherapy looks forward toward the future. It operates on the premise that human beings are fundamentally driven by a will to meaning. When a person cannot fulfill this deep desire for purpose, they experience an existential vacuum, a profound inner emptiness characterized by boredom, anxiety, and depression. Frankl argued that modern society often tries to fill this existential vacuum with superficial substitutes, such as the endless pursuit of pleasure, money, fame, or power. However, these distractions never satisfy the human soul. True mental health and fulfillment can only be achieved when you identify your personal responsibilities and dedicate your life to fulfilling them. The 3 sources of meaning. How exactly do we find meaning in our lives? Frankl emphasizes that meaning is not a grand, abstract secret hidden in the cosmos. It is personal, concrete, and changes from moment to moment. Furthermore, Frankl outlines 3 distinct pathways through which every person can discover meaning. The first pathway is by creating a work or doing a deed. This is the most straightforward source of meaning. It involves pouring your talents, creativity, and energy into a project, a career, a piece of art, or act of service. When you build something valuable or accomplish a meaningful task, you give something unique to the world. The second pathway is by experiencing something or encountering someone. You can find deep meaning through love, nature, art, or genuine human connection. When you love another person, you see their potential and help them realize it. Experiencing the majesty of a sunset or listening to a moving piece of music can give a moment profound significance. Meaning comes not only from what you produce, but also from what you receive and appreciate. The third pathway is the most profound, by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. When you face a situation that you cannot change, such as an incurable illness, the loss of a loved one, or a tragic catastrophe, you are presented with an ultimate challenge. You can allow the suffering to ruin you, or you can turn your tragedy into a personal triumph. By facing unavoidable pain with courage, dignity, and grace, you transform suffering into a heroic human achievement. The myth of a stress-free life. In modern culture, we are often told that the ultimate goal of life is to eliminate all stress and achieve total peace of mind. Many people believe that a good life is one free of tension, struggle, and discomfort. Frankl strongly disagreed with this idea. He argued that what human beings actually need is not a tensionless state, but rather the healthy striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal that they have freely chosen. Mental health does not rely on static equilibrium, but on dynamic tension, the gap between who you are today and who you have the potential to become tomorrow. If you try to remove all struggle from your life, you end up with boredom and aimlessness. Humans thrive when they are challenged, when they are needed, and when they have a mission to complete. Do not ask for an easy life. Ask for the strength and purpose required to overcome meaningful challenges. The Tragic Triad. Frankl acknowledged that human existence is inextricably linked to 3 negative realities, which he called the Tragic Triad: suffering, guilt, and death. First, suffering is an unavoidable aspect of life. No matter how wealthy, smart, or careful you are, pain will eventually find you. Second, guilt stems from our human imperfection. We all make mistakes, fail to live up to our standards, and make choices we later regret. Third, death is the ultimate time limit placed on our physical existence. Everything we do takes place against the backdrop of our mortality. However, Logotherapy teaches optimism in the face of this tragic triad. Suffering can be turned into a human achievement. Guilt can serve as an impetus to reform ourselves and make amends. The impermanence of life serves as a powerful reminder to make every moment count. Because our time is limited, every decision we make matters, creating a permanent footprint in the history of our lives. Key takeaways for your daily life. As we conclude our exploration of Viktor Frankl's immortal message, let us review the actionable lessons that you can apply to your own life today. First, stop asking what you expect from life, and start asking what life expects from you. Shift your mindset from asking what life can give you to asking what duty, mission, or person requires your attention right now. Second, cultivate your inner freedom. Remind yourself daily that no matter what happens in your external environment, whether you face financial stress, difficult boss, or physical illness, you retain absolute control over your mental attitude and response. Third, seek meaning in your work, your relationships, and your choices. Dedicate yourself to projects that matter to you, love deeply, and take responsibility for your actions. Fourth, reframe your suffering. When you encounter unavoidable hardship, do not view yourself as a helpless victim. Ask yourself how you can face the trial with dignity and what lessons you can extract from the pain. Fifth, embrace life's time limits. Use the reality of mortality as motivation to live fully, act honorably, and leave a positive legacy behind. Life never stops asking us questions. We do not answer those questions through words or clever theories, but through right action, courage, and responsible living. As Frankl proved in the darkest depths of human history, as long as you have a why to live for, you can bear almost any how. Find your purpose, honor your inner freedom, and live a life filled with true meaning.